Hi, I'm Michael Wood with the Los Angeles Times, here with my colleague Gerrick Kennedy. We're here to talk about last night's Grammy Awards, which were broadcast on CBS from Staples Center, downtown Los Angeles. I guess let's get into maybe a couple of the awards. What do we think? So, I mean, obviously the big sort of controversy today online is that Beck won the Album of the Year prize, one that many people had expected to be won by Beyonce.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Absolutely. I mean, sitting in the audience at Staples, you could hear the gasps. And there's a guy near me, and he's like laughing uncontrollably as Becca's going to the stage. And then the whole Kanye moment when he walked up and then walked back down, which, it just really showed that, I mean, it was such an unexpected thing. And it felt tense. It felt like, was there an error? Like you sort of kind of felt that going around the room. So it was really fascinating to see, what this conversation has turned into now.
Well, it seemed meaningful to me that usually the Album of the Year, that's like the last thing they do, right? And so, but last year it was, I don't know, it was like the third to last award. Like there was quite a bit of show after that, which I felt like once the votes had come in, I felt like that was CBS or Grammy people saying, all right, we don't want to end on this moment. We want to kind of bury this a little bit and then come out with something else, which seemed meaningful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and then also, as like tradition goes, both of the, you now have the perceived winner and then who actually won, their performances were really, really late. So it sort of seemed like they were curved, toward the end because of, what probably ended up going down. Yeah.
Totally. So everything else pretty much was won by Sam Smith, I think.
Yes.
he won all the other awards.
There's like a little duffel bag in the back somewhere, and he just has all this bounty in it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if I were one of these people, Norah Jones or Sam Smith, where they win a bunch of awards and you're in the press room after and they're asking you to do hey, hold all your trophies and do a goofy smile. I kind of feel like I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because that would be the picture they use for the rest of his life.
Forever, yeah.
What do we think about Sam Smith as this year's big victor?
I think it made sense. I mean, that album connected with a lot of people. Yeah. We did talk about it a lot. We talked about how much, the heartbreak and the loneliness and all those, really sad, melancholy things that we haven't done since Adele.
Yes.
So it made sense. It was a perfect cap to a really great breakout year, the true definition of what a breakout artist for Grammys and what that means and what that looks like. I think it was great.
Yeah.
Especially, you have other things happening too, with the sexuality and how he's been open. I know everybody now is like, oh, well, Elton. It's like, no offense to Elton, but he came out later in his career. This is someone who started off this way, and it's not been as much of a conversation as maybe when it was Frank Ocean a couple years ago. So I think there was a lot of great narratives, with Sam and seeing him on that stage winning.
Yeah, I agree. I think about what would the conversation be if he had robbed Beyonce and not Beck? And I think in some ways there would be a lot less sort of consternation about it, because I think Sam Smith, yes, he represents an old-fashioned idea in some ways, but I think he also kind of weds that to a very new fashion sensibility. And also I think it's inarguable that in 2014 he was moving the needle, whereas Beck, I don't know, I like the record, I like Morning Phase a lot, but like, was he owning 2014 in some way?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, not at all.
Yeah. All right, performances. So we saw Madonna sort of being the ringleader of a vaguely satanic cult revival. I don't know what that was. Interesting though, right?
It was really interesting. I mean, what I liked most about it, whether or not I agree with maybe the execution, I actually saw it at rehearsal, and it was better at rehearsal. She sounded a lot better than I think, we saw last night. I liked how grand it was, in a night where it was so many ballads and it was so sort of slow moving the entire night. I like that, and of course it took a pop star to do it, but it was this huge, grand performance, which it sort of should be what the Grammys about. I think a lot of artists, some, should strip things back and do something cool, but I want people to go big. I mean, you have this show where a lot of people are still really bored by the awards, and they're bored by how long it is, and how some of the tone and how it feels really flat and stuffy and all those things. So it was sort of great to see, Madonna, even though it's sort of the same thing from her, to have this huge moment.
Yeah, there were really only, by my count, maybe two other big production numbers, which were Pharrell's version of Happy, which I think was powerful in the sense that it made you think about a familiar song in a new way.
Right.
But kind of, I don't know if it was executed in a way that was super clear. And then also Sia's Chandelier.
Yes.
Everything else really was kind of low, quiet moments.
Yeah.
Even Beyonce at the end, which I expected to get really big, and I kind of didn't.
Yeah, she showed a lot of restraint, which was very surprising. I don't know if maybe it was, you know, the snub that happened earlier. I don't know if maybe that shifted sort of her focus. She put out a rehearsal video, and she still sort of kind of had a little bit of that somberness, and she talked a lot about, you know, she wanted that performance to showcase what was happening behind her, which was all these black men sitting there in unison. And I think that got missed the same way that, you know, Pharrell and the dancers and the hands up, don't shoot. I think some of these things probably got a little bit lost in translation. Eric Church really tried to drive it home, and I don't think that worked at all, just showing the imagery behind his performance. But yeah, it was, I mean, it was great to see a lot of artists having something to say, especially Katy Perry. I mean, so many acts did that last night too.
Yeah. Well, cool. It's good talking to you, Gerrick. This is, for more coverage on Grammys last night, go to latimes.com/Grammys. We'll see you next